From the movie, there was the love-struck view between you and Patricia.
Talk about the power of editing. Okay, yeah, the way they filmed that, there was only one real genuine moment in there. Uh, Everything else, it was time travel. They had portrayed it like it was actively happening during that movie, when in truth it had happened a whole year before, in 2016. That's when Patricia and I were kind of dancing around trying to figure out what was going on. And in fact, there was a that we did a podcast in 2018 where she came up to the Northwest for a meetup up here. She's been up to the Northwest for meetups different times. And we went across the ferry, and they made that seem like that was the first time we ever met. Again, just using it's like, well, why not? Let's just shoot it in that order. And so the moment that I gave it away was, and partially was my fault, and that was I had just gotten back from my year in Canada with the flat Earth girl that was way too young for me, and I was sort of in a vulnerable spot. So and then it was like, oh yeah, but as soon as right after I'd gotten back, we were already starting to shoot the movie, and I had to go down, and I spent the weekend with Patricia down there with the film team. And when yeah, that was the moment that everyone caught, which was we're sitting next to each other, and it's like, oh, it's time to go, and I didn't want to go. I mean, I really enjoyed spending my time with Patricia. We had fantastic conversations, and we've been doing this for a long time. Was that part was authentic? Did she feel the same way? No, she did not. We seem to be, and we realize this, we seem to be a better team than we were a relationship. Meaning people always said that. It was weird. And that's why we kept doing it. It was like, oh yeah, you got this. And I heard this from producers and other people. It was like, oh yeah, you got this on-screen chemistry thing. I never really knew it because I always considered myself like Shrek. And she was always so camera ready all the time. I watched her go just kind of half-ass it through a film screening thing, like a screen test, and like the camera, he completely botched up the footage, and he goes, and I said, you gonna reshoot it? He goes, her? No, I'm not gonna reshoot her. Are you kidding? She's perfect. She's always ready for camera. Um, so anyway, yeah, it was the romance, it was in the film, was edited. That was how we shot it, or how they edited it out, which was they made it seem like it was way more current than it was. Now, did it actually happen? Sure. Did it happen when they said it happened? No.
Yeah.
But
Was there ever an attempted romance?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, we were considering it, and I don't want to go into too much of the details.
Yeah.
I made some bad choices. I went to a meetup with oh, I won't even call it. Well, I will call it a bad choice. It was a bad move, which was while we were kind of in the stage of kind of figuring things out. I went to a meetup, and Orphan Red was there, and if you know who she is,
Yeah.
and she had some ideas, and that's when the other girl from Canada, she went to that meetup too, and it turned into kind of a situation where Patricia didn't approve. So even though Patricia, she likes putting up a good game face, it's like, look, Mark's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants, right? Well, translation is like, yeah, you better not. And so yeah, that cost me. That cost me a great deal. And who knows what would have happened if I hadn't gone down the Orphan Red path. So yeah.
Are you still in contact with Patricia?
Oh, you mean after her channel went down? Yes.
Yeah. Just
Yes.
okay. How's
Yeah,
she
yeah,
doing?
yeah.
How's everything
Sh
going?
well, everything's fine. You got to remember that she wants. She has a really. I don't know how to explain her in this case. I warned her. There's some people that public perception is very, very important to, and there's a lot of them out there, especially if you're younger. In her case, she read every single comment on every single video ever that she ever made. And
Oh,
I told,
never.
and
Don't read the comments.
no, you don't. You can't read the comments. I mean, you've got to step back from it, especially if it gets ugly. And it didn't matter how painful it was. She kept because she sanitized her comment sections. It's like if people were doing horrible things, and she'd read it first, it'd be burned in her head. Delete, read, delete, read, delete.
Mm,
And I said, look, eventually, sooner or later, you're going to snap if you do this. I
that's
go,
not healthy.
I guess especially if you have 300, she's coming up on 300 videos, and and she would not listen. It wasn't like, maybe you're right, hey, maybe this. Nope, she just kept on trudging through it, and eventually it's everyone's got their breaking point, which is why I do not read comments for the most part, because they're just it's awful. It's like a viper's den in there. So there was a video by, it was a combination of things. Eric DeBay, went on one of his tears with that video he made, and her ex-boyfriend didn't help. Antonio's been haunting her.
Antonio. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't go well. And then that combined with just the relentless pace of the comments, that she just said, yeah, you know what, I don't need this. She goes, I'm stepping back until I can figure out where, what my place is in this, because
Hmm.
she was a punching bag. She was a triple threat, meaning she was, well, she's a woman, she's really pretty, which of course, that doesn't go well, and she's Jewish. It's like, okay, between those three things, and thank God, again, all God's children, I don't care. But if her name wasn't Steer, it was like, Silverstein or something like that. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she would just be blistered with people that would coming at her, and so yeah, she buzzed me one day and said, look, I'm turning off, and until otherwise, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well,
I hope she hangs in there. So cross my fingers. I've seen her do this before. It's not completely unexpected, but at the same time, things got amped up. Let's put it this way: the good and the bad got amped up after the Behind the Curve thing. Once the
yeah.
documentary came out, there was a lot of good. I mean, she was being recognized in places, going to Starbucks and the car wash, and it's like, oh, I know you. But at the same time, there were the target on her back got a lot bigger.
Yeah. If you would, don't mind, give me 1 second.
Sure.
I have to say goodnight to my wife.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. She's stateside.
That's fine. Is she West Coast, East Coast?
Colorado Springs.
Oh, so 11:45,
Yep.
roughly.
Well, actually, right now she's back in South Dakota with her family, so she's another hour. She just
Ooh,
left a couple days ago for a family vacation. Or every summer she takes the kids back to the grandparents.
got it.
Yeah, it's weird being over here. I get 2 good nights a day when I'm telling her good night and when she's telling me good night.
Oh no.
Normally, I tell him 2 good mornings a day.
Yeah, Piggy rings me every morning to say good morning, Dad, because for some reason he feels like I've adopted him. So, with the Patricia thing,
Yeah,
I just want to say that in our community,
yeah,
we've recognized exactly what you said. She's the punching bag. She has been at the butt of a lot of horrible videos, and
yeah.
our heart goes out to her.
Well, that's appreciated. I mean, she is. I mean, I honestly, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what her motivation was to get into this in the first place. Because
Mm-hmm.
back in 2015, you gotta remember, she doesn't have to do this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
her parents passed away. She inherited quite a bit of money, and if she wanted to, I mean, if she wanted to clean up on YouTube and be completely non-controversial, she could have done makeup over 40, tips, and crushed it, because her bone structure is ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd be like, "Look, I just did this in 20 minutes," right? And people going, "Oh, I must buy these products." And she could have totally done that, and she didn't. So what? And I'm still to this day, I talk to her a lot, and it's just like, why are you doing this? It's like, why are you? It's almost like, why are you helping us? It's like she's a real standout in that regards, and but she puts people off um because of her symmetry. And it honestly, swear to God, the screen does not do her justice. And you see her in real life, and I've seen women just like half her age, just like literally. I'll tell you real quick. I was at a drugstore with her, and the girl at the checkout counter couldn't have been 21. Right. And she just stops dead in her tracks. She goes, how do you do it? She goes, what's your secret? I mean, because women want to know. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
what it is, and of course the other side of that. That's the good side. The other side is, everybody hates the homecoming queen. They hate
Yeah.
her. They hate her so much. It's schoolyard stuff, which is, you're not so great. it's, it's like,
What's
well,
the
in her case, she
what's
is
the
most of the time.
root of the mud that Antonio's slinging against her? Where's that
Oh, it's
coming
always
from?
the same. It's always the same thing, and that is the male ego is so fragile, which is and I don't know why it keeps happening. The movie Grease, when with John Travolta, which is
My
when
wife's
a
favorite movie, and I try to avoid watching it as much as I can.
really I had to grow up with it because my sister, she was a huge she owned 3 albums when we were really young. One was Sean Cassidy, one was Andy Gibb, and one was the Grease soundtrack. And she would freaking listen to that thing. I remember that Grease came out, I think, in '79. Anyway, the point was, I keep reminding me because guys, when a girl breaks up with a guy, and the guy's ego is damaged, he's a macho guy, right? They'll go one of 3 ways. Well, actually, only one of 2 ways. But the first one is, oh, she's just a bitch, whatever, or she they'll just make something up to soothe their ego, right? And usually it's like, oh, she was a slut, she was this, she was that. And then another set of guys will go take it one step further. They'll say, oh, you kidding, man? She was a lesbian, obviously. It's like I was too bad, I was too much man for her. But Antonio,
Yeah, he took it.
he
He turned
took
it up
it.
to 11.
Yeah, he did turn it up to 11. It's like, oh, no, no, no. She was a guy. And it's like, what? It's like, it's like, okay, okay. First off, that's great sensationalism, sure, but it puts you in a precarious position because, like, didn't she live with you for months? So were you living with and remember, this was back. I know the transgender thing is really hot now, but it wasn't really, really hot
Hmm.
back then, just a few years ago. And so it's like, and he wouldn't let it die. So okay, so what happens is that the sensationalism feeds kind of this weird positive reinforcement. Again, Greece, tell me more, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they were people were going, and he was getting hits, he was getting subs, and so what do you think he was going to do? It's like, oh, people want to, I'm going to tell you, that's straight out of tabloid tactics. Was like, if if the headline works, you just keep using that headline until they sue you. It's like, Jennifer Aniston, blah blah blah. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna keep running with that. And he wouldn't stop. And then, of course, it got worse because some of the trolls jumped on it. And like, and by that, I shouldn't even say the globalist trolls didn't jump on it. It was our guys that jumped on it. So like Eric Dubay jumped on it, which was the worst. And then ODD, I think, jumped on it a little bit, and some of these other guys. And it only takes a few, and they just
Hmm.
reinforced it. It's like, oh yeah, I know Antonio. He's totally, hashtag legit, hashtag gender question mark.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh God. And it just would not. And you got to remember, for someone like her, who is ultra feminine, super feminine, everything she does is feminine. I mean, her house, I mean, it is, it's, yeah, it's Disney Queen, right? But it's not Snow White, but it's super feminine.
Hmm.
That just crushes her. And she just wanted, which is why I've told many people, I go, if this world ever gets weirder, don't ever give her a magic wand. Don't ever do it. Because the body count will be staggering. She remembers anyone that ever burned her in comments. She remembers, she's got a block list a mile long. She will destroy. I mean, seriously, she would burn this world down. I haven't even seen the new X-Men, but I pretty much, she'd make that go to shame. Phoenix, who?
Yeah. And for somebody who, like you said, reads every comment,
Yeah.
that's just terrible. That,
Yeah,
that
and
that's not taking a little dig at her. That is targeted, terrible human behavior.
yeah. And everyone, I feel it's politics, which is, we all know that politicians now, they don't run ads pumping up themselves. They run them tearing
Mm.
down the other guy. We don't. I don't care. It's like, I'm a great candidate. I'm a great. Nobody cares. It's like, no, my other candidate is the other candidate. My opposition is terrible, and here's why. Right?
I've
And
heard that he murders babies. It
it's
may not be
sacked.
true, but he may murder babies.
Exactly. Paid for by the
Yeah.
guy that's not murdering babies. It is absolutely, yeah. Well, you can read, like, here's the thing: you could read 10. Everyone does it. We gloss over. It's like, you're great, you're wonderful, you're great, you're wonderful. You're a complete dick, psycho, blah blah blah, and I hate you. You should die horribly and painfully. And you read this and you go, you absolutely forget everything else. It's like,
Yeah.
why does he hate me so much? And then if you're her and it's like, it's like, you should die, tranny queen. It's like, whoa, that is. I mean, I honestly, if I can't even imagine what she'd feel. I wouldn't be able to sleep. It'd be awful. So
Yeah.
I'm hopefully she will get some sort of semblance, some sort of normalcy, and she comes back great. But
Well,
if she,
if she accepts the globe, we will gladly take her to our side.
thanks, thanks.